Live on WFLA Now. With a specialized degree in climate, Chief Meteorologist and Climate Specialist Jeff Berardelli is pioneering the way we look at climate and extreme weather. Welcome to Jeff's Climate Classroom, powered by ArmorView Window and Door.
All right, thank you for joining me today for the Climate Classroom. And you heard the guy say that I have a specialized degree in climate. The guy I'm going to interview today also has the same specialized degree in climate. So first, let me just say the climate crisis, not a funny topic whatsoever, but I know one guy personally who gets a lot of laughs as a climate comedian. Now, for the layman, climate charts and graphs, and especially people like me, scientists, we can be really boring. And there's a lot of, unfortunately, political pushback we get these days in climate science. It is really tough to break through. But my guest has figured out a way to do so. This is Rollie Williams. He's drinking already. This show just started, Raleigh. But whatever you got to do to get by, okay? Is that pure vodka, by the way, that you're drinking? Can you imagine?
Bourbon? If it was, okay. I wouldn't tell you. But it is merely it's water that has too much carbon dioxide in it.
There you go. Well, you're killing the planet here. All right, so I want to tell you about Rollie. So Rollie has been doing this for quite a while. He's found a way to reach people in this very torn time politically, and in a time where there's so much noise and you got to figure out a way to break through. And he's done that through comedy. Now, Rollie and I, as I briefly mentioned, were former classmates from Columbia University, and I watched his idea. I knew him when. Rollie, I don't know if you remember this. I came to the Upper West Side when you were playing Al Gore in your Inconvenient Reality show to watch you interview Adam Sobel, climate scientist Adam Sobel from Columbia University.
That sounds right.
You might not remember me. It might not remember me being there, but I came to watch.
Was that at like a Columbia dining room
thing?
Thing?
No. It was like just south of Columbia University on the west side. It was this. You had to walk down a couple of stairs to get into the venue.
Yeah. No, I remember that. I was really nervous. I was in a room full of people who were
very smart.
Actually knew Al Gore, and I was pretending to be Al Gore. And then from their perspective, it's like, who is this dude? Like, what is going on?
You nailed it. It's
Thank
okay.
You.
All right, so let's get to the nitty gritty. So first of all, why is there a need for a climate comedian?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'm a comedian first. So I moved to New York to pursue comedy. I did comedy in college. My comedy show was about climate change, not the other way around. So it's more like, what do I as a comedian find as to be an interesting topic to talk about? And it just so happens that there's a lot of meat in climate change. So I'm doing comedy about climate change. So I'm not sure if there actually needs to be a comedian in the field, but there is, and I'm sorry about it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So Raleigh created a bunch of shows. One of those is Climate Town. Climate Town, his videos in some cases get over 1 million views, and you have something like over 500,000 followers on your YouTube channel. Is that right?
Yeah. Something like, I think we're cresting the 550K mark today. Fingers crossed.
So let me just say for the folks at home, Raleigh does kind of, and this is what I would equate it to. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to show a little clip right now in a second. But you're kind of a mix between comedy show, Comedy Central's, The Daily Show, and also John Oliver. Because to me at least, you do deep dives into one topic and you just kind of tear it apart. Is that right? Am I getting it kind of right?
I mean, that's an extremely flattering idea of what I do. So thank you forever. It's going on my resume. Thank you, Jeff. I think that's a good way to phrase it. I try to do a really deep dive on one topic, and I research the molasses out of it. I'm calling experts on that topic. And then once I've got the information that I think is a story, I write into a script. I have a team of people that help me with it, and then we film it and edit it. And it turns into about a half-hour long deep dive piece into one element of the climate crisis.
Not easy to do 30-minute shows, to edit them, to have enough stuff that you've shot, to have enough research. I mean, so let me play the clip, and then when I'm done with the clip, you can come back and tell me what it takes to make one of these, how long it takes you to make one of these.
Sounds good.
And look, I'm aware you didn't have watch a punishingly long video about parking on your agenda today. But what parking law lacks in excitement, it makes up for in being so blunt force head trauma stupid that once you learn about it, you won't be able to unsee the damage the parked car has done to the land of the free.
All right. So, you know what? I think everyone can relate to the fact that parking lots are a waste of space. And, you know, you pave over them, pave over forests and nice, you know, landscape to get, you know, parking lots. And
Sure.
you found this was one of your most watched stories. And obviously people feel the same way. So you find topics that are annoying to people, kind of like John Oliver does in a way.
Yeah.
And you tell people stuff like, what is, so first and foremost, talk about that particular segment. What was ridiculous to you about the reason why you have so many parking lots? And it was something like, what, 4 parking spots for every car in America or something like that?
Yeah, that's the best estimate is there's like about 1 billion parking spots in America, which is 4 for every car. And one thing that we try to do on Climate Town is we try to find topics that people would want to tell other people at a party. You know, like the conversation's dipping and you want to say something to somebody. And so you say like, hey, did you know that businesses don't have a choice about how much parking they can offer? It's made up by a group of people with no degree in the field. They just make up a number, and then every theater forever has to have X amount of parking spaces per seat. And it has created this wild urban sprawl problem, or it's a huge contributor to urban sprawl. And I like those sorts of little factoids, and I think those are really interesting to build whole episodes around, because once you hook people with like, oh, well, that shouldn't happen. How did that happen? What the hell is going on? And you can kind of backtrack about like, here's the history of parking law in America, and here's who, like when it broke, and here's the outcome of a broken parking system, and here's how to fix it. And it just like leads to a lot of room to do jokes and bits and also like teach people an important thing about how their society runs.
But you're making parking and climate funny. It's got to be a challenge because neither one of those two topics is very funny.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of people are like, what do you tell, like a knock-knock joke about a parking lot or something? And that's not, I don't think, the strategy for me and the Climate Town team, which consists of, I mean, the core team is me, Ben Bolt, Matt Nelson, and Nicole Conlon. So they're all superstars in their fields, and we kind of come together and look at all the information and the facts, and then try to come up with jokes that flow through the material, as opposed to like commenting, like, you know, like we don't insert a joke about like that's as bad as the time King Richard did, you know, like invaded the Normandy or what. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, clearly.
But we try to. Yeah, sorry. Maybe he did.
I'm just teasing. I don't even know who he is.
I'm pretty sure he existed in the Robin Hood universe
at some point.
But yeah, so we try to go through the material and find out that in the 1930s, some guy decided that all bowling alleys have to have 5 parking spaces per bowling lane, plus 1 for everybody who works there. And that just creates this giant parking glut. And so we'll go back and look at the archival footage from when the bowling, like boomers or bowling groups were trying to get people to go bowling. And we'll go watch that old footage. And it'll be like hilarious old school footage with like weird phrases. Like one phrase that I really liked they used in this old bowling video was 10 big fat pins just asking for it. And I was like, this is hilarious.
That wouldn't pass muster in 2020, whatever we are in.
Yeah, that would get cut, I think, in the final. Yeah. And so we'll pull these audio clips and kind of arrange them in a decoupage comedic sort of way, and then do bits that we like and jokes, but the comedy kind of comes from the information and isn't like added on top of it. And so that's the strategy to make a boring topic funny that I employ.
I do this kind of stuff for a living. When I say that, I don't mean comedy, I mean video production. I mean producing stories, although they're serious stories. But, you know, just doing a couple of minute to a few minute story takes a long time. How long does it take you from the conception of the idea to to actually getting it out on YouTube?
Oh, it is pretty variable. It goes from anywhere between like 3 weeks and 6 months. For instance, we're working on an episode right now about the insurance industry and how, you can't get home insurance in a bunch of places in America because climate disasters are making the insurance market non-viable, but that you can get insurance for a gas pipeline or a fossil fuel infrastructure project. And that feels pretty disparate. So we've talked to maybe 6 experts in the insurance industry, like some on the record, some off the record, and we're really trying to get our arms because it's such a complicated industry, and so we don't want to put information into the world that's wrong. So we're really trying to do our diligence to like figure out what's going on and what broke and how do we fix it, and it just takes forever.
That's impressive. I wouldn't have thought that you would have had to interview 6 experts. And these are not people who end up in your story and in your show, right? These are people who just you're getting for background.
Yeah, and there are people that we will cite in the description, or there are people who will contribute to the concepts and ideas that go into the episode, but we don't have them on and interview them.
Right.
The idea of the show is that it be a fast-paced, like man on the street, walk around, cruising. There's never a moment where it's like dips into this kind of an interview that maybe makes the pace lag. So we don't. There's not like there's no room for extra people to come in, but they definitely help out with the material.
Well, clearly you do not have an audio person. I say that because you use a piece of blue tape to tape your microphone on your shirt. So. Can I donate? Is there a place I can donate to get you a real microphone?
Sure. Although at this point it's canon now, so I can't really.
It's part of the routine now.
Yeah.
Is it part of the routine? I mean, look. I mean, you didn't even comb your hair for this podcast here. So this is you, right? This is you're just inherently funny.
Well, I just, I'm inherently a pretty disheveled looking fellow.
I can vouch for that because you sat next to me in class, so I know.
Yeah. I remember you were part of the inspiration for going to that program because I visited the class.
Oh, that's right. And they asked me to show you around, right? And you still came. It's amazing. I tried to discourage you. I don't know what happened.
Get out.
It didn't work.
Yeah. No. So thank you for that. That was very kind of you.
I didn't even remember it until you just mentioned it.
Well, you're my benefactor now. But if you're interested in trying to donate, we have a Patreon page.
Oh, well, there you go.
Is a good way to fuel the channel because we don't have any. We're not corporate owned, man.
You're not sponsored by Exxon,
man. Well, we are. Yeah, they do give us a couple $1 billion every year, but that mostly goes to just trips.
You might want to watch out because I don't know if you know this. There's a video about Big Oil where I think you're making fun of them on your Climate Town page, and you're also sponsored by an oil company, so you're gonna have to watch out there. I'm just saying it could be a conflict of interests.
I would never say a bad word about an oil company. Okay. I think those guys are really doing the Lord's work. Regulations can go by the wayside for those boys. Those are our good old boys.
As long as the billions are flowing in, right, Raleigh?
That's right.
Yeah. But on a more serious note, do you feel like you've in some way made a dent where you've been able to reach people who weren't paying attention? I'm not saying you're reaching people who are, who are climate deniers who, I'm not saying that, but I imagine you're reaching people who may not have been reached otherwise because they just wouldn't have been interested in climate. They wouldn't have, maybe you plant a seed and pique their interest and they get more involved afterwards. I'm just wondering if you know of the impact you're having.
Sure. Yeah. On kind of a really narrow level, we do live shows every once in a while. And we had a live show a couple days ago, and a handful of people came up to me afterwards and mentioned like, hey, I had a career in marketing and I went back to college to do sustainability because like, not exclusively because of your videos, but like your videos were a contributing factor in that decision. Right. So thank you for that. And which like makes me feel incredible. Like, I think that's kind of that's like basically the most impact I'm ever going to have, I think, is like giving people the permission to like do the thing they already wanted to do, but maybe thought it wasn't.
Because you're doing something, you're doing something so unorthodox, right? People see that and they say, wow, you can make if you can make a career being a comedian in comedy, then you can pretty much do anything you want. I mean, is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, I can't get worse than that guy. So yeah, I'll take a rip at it. No, I think that's part of it. And kind of on a larger level, I'm sort of I'm aiming at doing a comedy video. Like I want people to watch it and be like, that was a funny video. But a secondary effect of that, I hope, is that these people who maybe knew about the issue vaguely get a little more educated on the issue, and something that I say or something that comes up reminds them of something or something like that, and they decide to get more educated, and they just kind of move down the funnel of information until they decide to take some kind of action.
So let me ask you, there's in a climate world of extremely annoying things, right? Here we are, scientists that are trying to, and when I say we, I'm not including you, Raleigh. That's okay, right?
No problem.
No, but in all seriousness, and I'm trying to be, I hope that my sarcasm is coming off as comedic, if you will.
Oh, it fully.
I hope my timing
Jeff,
is like
you're my guy, Jeff. You're my guy.
All right. No, but in all seriousness, it's crazy to think that people are pushing back on saving the planet, right? I mean, we're just climate scientists just simply trying to, communicate their findings and say, hey, we're going to be in big trouble. We're already kind of in big trouble. We just simply want to tell you that we're going to be in really big trouble so that we can kind of save ourselves. And we get so much pushback and anger because people mostly just either think that we're being dishonest with them, or they're just picked a political side of the spectrum that they're on, or maybe, just maybe, they are paid, by, and there's very few of those people, but there are some people that are simply paid to push back against climate and spew climate denial. So tell me, in a world of annoying climate stuff like that, what are the most annoying things to you?
Weirdly, like I'm not getting a lot of that pushback in the comment section of the videos. Like normally YouTube comment threads are unbelievably toxic wastelands that you should never tread. But I will go through comments every once in a while, and like they are not the kind of vitriol that I assumed they would be. So I'm guessing that's mostly elsewhere on the internet. But I actually do seek that out. I have a podcast with my friend and a writer for the Daily Show, Nicole Conlon. It's called The Climate Denier's Playbook. And what we do is kind of like look at all that vitriol and look at kind of these talking points that climate deniers use, and then break them down one piece at a time
to
show like
people.
Exactly where they started. What's that?
I said that'll anger some people.
I think so, but it's also like this is just the history of the topic, right? Like when people are saying, well, in the 70s, all the climate scientists thought it was global cooling.
Yeah, we're going to have an ice age. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so we looked into it, and it was like, something like less than 10% of papers published in that time frame suggested there might be like a cooling effect based on like aerosols.
Yeah, there were a couple of high-profile papers. One of them was on like in a major newspaper or a major magazine, and of course, that was the thing people clung on to. I remember when I was a kid, because I was a weatherman, or I was always wanted to be a meteorologist, and I was on my way to being a weatherman. And of course, this is back in the 70s and 80s. And when I heard someone say there might be an ice age, I was excited. I was like, more snow. I love the snow. So I remember that specifically. But as you say, it was a very small portion of. So basically, climate deniers distort the facts. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think it's like they either distort the facts on purpose, or they are parroting distorted facts without knowing it. And I think probably the majority of people are doing the second one, where they are using information that they're finding online that happens to be wrong, but they don't do the work to fact check it. And then they just talk about it. They say it, and that's how it goes. They repeat it.
Yeah, I do wonder though if it's because people are seeking out information that confirms their life view. Right? They have a certain ideology. They want to find information that backs it up. And today you can find information to back up anything because of Google. Whether it's true or not is a different story.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the problem with all of us, though. There's the thing called confirmation bias, and I suffer from it. We all suffer from it. Like every human on the planet. Like I would rather open up my newspaper and see an article that confirms a thing I suspected. And because of that, I am much more likely to remember the things that I see that are confirmatory.
Right. Sure.
And anything that's challenging the viewpoints that I already have, I'm going to kick it to the curb, or it's going to be a lot harder to take it in. And I think this is just like the nature of humanity. And it happens to have come at the exact wrong time when we have the internet and a boatload of misinformation.
That's right.
And a crisis
That's true.
that we have to fix.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. I didn't think about it, but it is a confluence of unfortunate situations, or could be fortunate if we can use it to the best of our ability, right? Because of AI now, and because there's so much information sharing that scientists can build off.
Because of AI.
Well, you know,
that was a heck of a thing to throw in there.
But I would imagine that they will start using AI to try to figure out how to solve the climate challenge in the best, most efficient way possible. I would imagine. I mean, if they're not, then they're doing it wrong. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm completely scared of AI. I think that's a different topic for a different show. I don't know where it's going. I don't think anyone quite understands. I would say I'm a good predictor. You know why, Raleigh? Because I've been a meteorologist almost my whole life. So I predict things well. My mind is made.
Predictions are coming in here.
Yeah.
And moving down to
just
here.
watch out for your rotator cuff, because when you do that too much, you can get sore. So don't. Yeah. But see, I could be a writer on your comedy show, Raleigh.
You should. I keep trying to hire you.
Where was I? Oh, yeah. So essentially, you could use it to your advantage in a way where we could actually use it to help solve the climate crisis. But unfortunately, right now, it seems like more of an inhibitor. Okay, so your show, which is about climate denial, is a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'd like to listen to it myself. I didn't even know you were doing that. And congratulations, by the way. You really are taking the world by storm here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's called the Climate Deniers Playbook. It's on Apple and Spotify and all the normal podcast places. It is produced by Ben Bolt, and Nicole Conlon is the co-host, and it's a lot of fun. And we got new episodes coming out in 2024.
The reason why I say is it sounds like therapy for me. Like I could probably, this would be like a therapy. I don't have to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I can go to this podcast and get all my frustration and anger out.
Men will listen to podcasts for 60 days before they go to therapy, won't they, Jeff?
Anything to help. So listen, we don't have too much more time left, but I do want to ask you, what are you most passionate about right now in terms of what are the stories that you want to tell that you think, what do you think are the most important stories that people need to know? If someone tuned in right now and they're only listening for 2 minutes, what do you think they should know about the climate challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I think this feels like beating a dead horse, but fossil fuels are the first and foremost kind of blocker to circumventing the climate crisis. And of course, they also power the world. You know, something like 80% of energy is still fossil fuel oriented. So,
and the U.S., by the way, had a record year for oil. We produce more oil than we've ever produced before under a Democratic president. So, you know, it's just, this is the course we're on. You know, it's going to be hard to turn that Mack truck around.
Yeah, and that Mack truck is using oil.
Unfortunately, maybe one day they will be electrified.
Yeah. So I think that's a big thing for people to kind of clock, but also that's too big of a concept, I think, to be actionable in any way. So one pipeline I like to think about, see, oil infrastructure even peppers my metaphors. One pipeline is like electrifying the power generation grid, and then decarbonizing power generation and then electrifying as many things as possible. So this is like a really good way to try to decarbonize the way we in America operate, and public infrastructure, public transportation, city density, these sorts of
so essentially climate solutions. So spending a lot of time, thinking about climate solutions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun for me to look at the history and see where people were just lying to their constituents or to their customers. But the past is the past, and it only serves as a mechanism to change the future. So, climate solutions, knowing what happened, and it's also knowing where we're going. I think those are two critical pieces.
All right. So listen, before we finish, I just want you to tell people, and I've already kind of mentioned it, but why don't you go ahead and tell people how they can find your content?
Yeah. So if you want, I'm on YouTube, Climate Town, Climate Space Town. That's kind of the main thing I do. You can also check out my podcast, The Climate Deniers Playbook. That's on all the places you normally get podcasts. And if you don't want any climate change things at all, I also have a billiards YouTube page. You just search Rollie Williams or like Raleigh Pool or something, and that ought to come up. That was my other life before I got into the climate world.
That's your other
content.
obsession.
Yeah.
Yes.
If only I could find some way to match them up, I think that would be.
You've already kind of
amazing
mixed
feeling.
and matched some weird stuff. I don't know how you get billiards into climate comedy, but I don't know.
I'm gonna get it in there.
It ought to be. Let me know. Alert me when you're successful at that. Okay.
I will do.
All right. Thank you very much, Raleigh. I appreciate it. It's good seeing you after all these years, and I wish you the
Right
best of
back at
luck.
you.
And I'll be watching.
Thanks for having me on your show, Jeff.
My pleasure, of course. Thank you for being here. And I want to tell everyone that you can listen to the this particular podcast or any particular podcast in a lot of different places. This is called Jeff's Climate Classroom. You can find it as a podcast on Apple and also on Spotify. After we're done with the show, we package it up. We send it to YouTube. You can also watch it on our website. You can go to the weather tab on the WFLA.com website and then click Climate Classroom, and you can watch it there as well. And, of course, you can watch it on Facebook, where I think a lot of people are probably watching it right now. So, again, thank you very much for joining me. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break for the Christmas holiday, and I'll be back in January with more of my series, Climate Classroom. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great day and a great holiday.
Watch or listen to Jeff's Climate Classroom, powered by Armor View Window and Door on WFLA social media platforms, and find Jeff's climate reports on WFLA.com.